Good morning, everyone. We're not running out of time. We got plenty of time. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. I'm John Adarola. This is the pre-show for TDR. Thank you, everyone who's here. Eatwood Mac, how's it going? Let me start off by saying I was reading the comments, and if you're in the area that's experiencing Ida right now, I feel horrible for what you must be going through. For people who've been driven out of the area, not knowing when they may be able to return, obviously that's horrendous. Very sorry to hear that. Hopefully you're able to get help. But thank you everyone for being here. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Maybe gives a better chance that people know that we're live. Notifications and all that. They suck. But anyway, thank you for being here. Libre Vision, you're not a garbage person, so you can't be the garbage person. Clearly, definitionally, it's not possible. But anyway, thank you for being here. We've got Wozni. He's going to be joining us for the show today. We're going to be talking about a lot. Not only the formal end of what's going on in Afghanistan, and then the domestic debate about it, how that's taken a turn. We've got Madison Cawthorn, totally not calling for political violence, as he's totally calling for political violence, so that's fun. Sidney Powell is just falling apart. She's probably going to be disbarred soon. That'll be nice. And, yeah, a whole lot besides. It's a rough day in the news. Some interesting stuff, though. We're going to talk about the post office and how they've been screwing over their workers, and then the future of sports. How will it look since the pandemic, apparently, is never, ever leaving us? Anyway, Billy Bear says, hey, Billy says, Trump is the drink guy at the bar that we finally kicked out after 4 long years. Now he stands outside the bar screaming at anyone that listens and occasionally yells at us from outside the door. Yes, potentially. So we're, as the headline alludes to, we are going to be talking a little bit about him for a very good reason. There is this narrative about him in this area of policy that is absolute bullshit. He is demonstrating that every day, and I want to make sure that people understand it. But anyway, yes, tossing out DeJoy would be a great idea. Add that to the list of things that aren't being done. No, but seriously, like, hold on, Tyler says, happy to support this shoe and getting through this hell world. Love the Dragon Squad. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for being here. Right today, I want everybody to go to a different website. As far as you want, searching for news. What are the Democrats doing? I guess they're on recess or whatever. They're always on resource. Everyone's always on resource. Recess. What are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know. We go days and days and days. No idea. Today says, hi, John. It's always weird how you say good morning. It's 7 p.m. over here. No coffee this time. Sorry. I'm targeting the locals with the intro, but thank you for being here, regardless of what time zone you're in. Okay, everybody, what should we start on? You know what? No, I guess we have a format. We'll get to good news. I have good news. We're going to start off with the format. So, person who needlessly died from COVID. There's a new, a bunch of them every day. So this is a right-wing conspiracy theorist, one of the QAnon people, apparently tied in with Alex Jones and all them, Robert David Steele. So, let's see. Got COVID, spent an extended period of time in the hospital, tragically. Don't wish that on anyone. And he's a frequent Alex Jones guest. He claims that NASA has a base on Mars for, hold, child slaves. But anyway, in the hospital for COVID, he says, with love to you all, I survived. I went in at 77 oxygenation. I'm up to 94. I will not take the vaccination, though I did test positive for whatever they're calling COVID today. But the bottom line is that my lungs are not functioning. So to be clear, this is the sort of this story where he doesn't believe that COVID exists even as he's in a hospital for it. His lungs are failing. He still doesn't believe. Or, to be clear, isn't willing to admit to the conspiracy theory audience that he's put together that it exists. Whether he actually accepts the reality of COVID, I don't know. But we kind of have to, at some point, go by the person's word. Anyway, the good news is that I will survive with a few days off. I should be back up and at least functional soon. This has been a near-death experience, very much like a new death experience the whole country is going through right now. We will never be the same because now we know that we've all been lied to about everything. But now we also know that we can trust each other. What? Okay, so he's in the hospital for COVID, saying we're going to survive because we all know we've been lied to, but at least we know we can trust each other, even though the major problem throughout this pandemic has been that we cannot trust people to do literally the bare minimum to safeguard other people's lives. So I like that he went in a optimistic direction. I think the news does need more of that. It doesn't really track with what he's been saying. And being literally an Alex Jones orbit conspiracy theorist talking about how everyone else is lying to you about everything when you talk about child sex colonies on Mars seems like a weird direction to go in. But anyway, look, the end tragedy is that he died from this disease that he at least publicly refused to acknowledge existed. He refused to acknowledge what was killing him as it was actually killing him. No, I don't believe that coyotes are attacking humans. It's a weird direction to go in. Whether it's honest or not, if it's honest, tragic. Super tragic that a person would believe those things. If it wasn't honest, then it's even more reprehensible because you have this silver lining that you could actually get through to people as you're dying. But like continuing the grift in your last days. Like the last thing you do on this earth. You've been here for 70 years almost. And the last thing you do is make sure that people stay vulnerable to a disease. That's a weird direction to go in. It is. Anyway, Daniel says, is there anything to do for the California government race? Seems like not much is being talked about it. Yeah. We were supposed to do a Larry Elder story. The thing about him and Stephen Miller. Completely forgot about that. Anyway, apparently Larry Elder and Stephen Miller have this major connection. He was like one of his mentors, Larry Elder was. And he wants Stephen Miller to be president. So, if you want to know who he is. And look, I know what you're saying. Many of you are probably like, well, I live in California. I know. I don't want Larry Elder. So what do? I don't goddamn know. Democrats in the state don't seem to have a strategy. Hoping that more than 50% vote no on the recall at this point is what I'm doing. I'm totally open, 100% open to something more proactive than that. But getting out that message to the extent that we can, that's all I know. It is going to be a wild time, man. I am not looking forward to the results of that election coming in. I love when I make a typo in a super chat and John reads it on the air. It really makes me feel like an idiot. Well, Chris, don't feel like an idiot. I don't pre-read the super chats. So if there's a typo, I'm just full steaming ahead with it. So we're in it together. Arguably, I should have been able to see it coming. So I should feel like the idiot. LibraVision says, we should invade Papa John's because they're crappy pizza. Well, like, they're bad and everything, but I think the pizza's not bad. Billy Bear says, I like to think that while in recess, the Dems get bar up and have their lunch money taken by the Republicans. Yeah, maybe. Moray says, got my second vaccine dose 2 days ago, got a pretty bad headache, fever, and body aches, and had to stay home from work for a day, but it was worth it. Well, so two things. First, I am glad that you got it. Second, I hope Tucker Carlson is watching because he's been desperate to find out what the side effects are, and he has no other way of figuring out. Perhaps via your super chats, Tucker Carlson can learn something. Aria played Terraforming Mars over the weekend. That's awesome. I've played many, many games of Terraforming Mars. I am not great at that game. I always try to do space strategy, and it never works. Ryan says, Ohio judge has ordered a hospital to administer ivermectin after doctors refused when man's wife asked the doctors to use it. Crazy story worth a read. Yeah, I have. Look, let's jump briefly to Rand Paul. I have a bit of ivermectin stories for you. So Rand Paul says, the only reason scientists won't study the drug is because they hate Trump. Which is, look, yes, this is what Rand Paul should be saying. This is what a senator should be saying. The same sort of stupid, no thought behind it bullshit that gets tons of retweets on Twitter. That is what he should be saying. First of all, the idea that that is how scientists decide things is asinine. Second of all, the idea that they're not studying it is stupid. And you can't simultaneously say, here's a study that's ongoing, and they refuse to study it. You can't say both those things. You kind of have to choose one. The issue is not that they are not studying it. The issue is that you are wasting your fucking time and people's lives by focusing on those ongoing studies that thus far have not demonstrated that it is useful, and even were that to be demonstrated, would be a last resort after vaccination. You get vaccinated, we get as many people vaccinated as we can, so that hopefully as few people have COVID as possible. And if some still get it, breakthrough cases, because it's a fucking crazy disease, it's very transmissible, then sure, maybe some people can take ivermectin after we figure out how it actually works, but that is not how any of them are discussing it. They're all saying, oh, I don't know about these vaccines. Very suspicious. Ooh, it's not that I'm against masks. I just think liberty's more important. Oh, give me the horse paste. That's how they talk about it. It is a total fucking con. And then people will be like, well, no, it's not a con. I mean, they have this study that they reference. Okay, no, not every con is going to be, hand me your lunch money and I'll cast a magic spell on you. Yes, they're going to ground it in some way to make it seem believable, and many will do a better job than Rand Paul does here, but it's still fucking bullshit. Whether it ends up actually being helpful to treat people, and one would think the evidence would have presented itself by now if that was the case, but even if it does someday, that does not get you past the fact that you need to get the fucking vaccine as soon as you can. And everyone who spends even 5 minutes talking about, I just have questions about ivermectin, would be 1,000 times better off from the point of view of their vulnerable audience to just put that time into telling people how they get the fucking vaccine and when they should do it. And that now is the time. That's it. That's it. That's your ivermectin story for right now. I got one more actually, but get the vaccine. Tyler says, can't imagine spending my last days making sure I and other people don't survive a deadly pandemic. Well, that's because Tyler, you're a good person. Chad Rapp says, keep up the good work. Thank you. It's difficult. This has not been a good year, obviously, for many people. Andrew Singh says, just sent in a super chat. No message, but thank you. One of the things that's making me mad today, and, I feel like I can say this to you because it's the live show, pre-show. I get to one sec. Chris says, now that my comment has been read out loud like a super chat, I feel compelled to actually make one. I love the show and pre-show with all my heart. Thanks for the good work you do, John. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so one of the things that's pissing me off is, and this is not new. It's not new at all. I don't, look, I'm going to say, I almost made this a general thing. I don't know if this is true of other online news shows or progressive news shows specifically. I don't know. Like, it is so constantly frustrating and like shredding to my desire to go on how little people care about the most substantive topics of the day. So like we do a lot of different types of content on the channel, obviously. And like we did, Francesca and I talked about the immediate and the long-term effect of things like the drone strike that killed a bunch of civilians yesterday. And like 5,000 people watched it. Like, they don't give a shit. Maybe we titled it wrong. I don't know. But like when we talk about infrastructure, we talk about, hey, we're gonna talk about unemployment insurance later on today. We're gonna talk about workers, wage theft against workers, and nobody's gonna fucking care. Nobody's gonna talk about it. Like I've been yelling for years, like nobody talks about climate change, but I also sort of get why, because we've been doing it for years and nobody watches those videos. It's really fucking depressing. You know why Fox News talks about absolute bullshit about sentient potatoes, penises, and Dr. Seuss? Well, partially it's the culture war stuff that they like, but because people would actually watch that. When you talk about significant things, they don't. Like, fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. And some days, I can sort of just say, hey, it's a part of the thing, and we gotta push past it and get people excited and everything. That's a job for me. That's a job for all of you as well. But sometimes, man, it's really depressing. It's really depressing. The shows that do well generally are the ones that talk about absolute fucking bullshit. And financially, I get why. Anyway, Ray Turner says, numbers have been rising since the UK's Freedom Day, and I expect fresh lockdowns during September. Also, John, calm down and dye your hair, okay? I don't think I'm going to be dying anytime soon, but thank you. Thank you, Gerard. Kide says, I missed the pre-show yesterday. This is supposed to be the awesome rant yesterday, but I guess for today's rant as well. Well, thank you. I'm just in a kind of a bad mood, and it sometimes comes out in my commentary. I am going to be taking a little bit of time away sometime soon. I'm going to be going to visit a friend of mine for a few days. I was originally going to go to Um, I was originally going to go to Gen Con, and it just doesn't, like the pandemic, man. Interesting, thank you. Okay, anyway, so there's a feed store. This is V&V Tech and Feed in Las Vegas that is requiring you to submit a photo of you and your horse to be able to get ivermectin. Because that is what America has come to. I don't really want to talk more in depth about that story. I just think it's funny. And we suck. Ingen Ferris says, people often don't want to deal with the real important stuff. That's bad enough, but also don't underestimate the YouTube algorithm. No, I'm sure that a lot of it is the YouTube algorithm, but that doesn't mean that we're absolved of all blame. The YouTube algorithm focuses on things that get a lot of engagement and people really like pay attention to. And look, I'm sure maybe it's on me. I got to find more interesting ways to cover, international climate change stories and things like that, I guess, but it's just there's an appetite for certain sorts of things and not for others. I mean, look at shows like Ben Shapiro or whatever. He never talks about anything. And I don't mean like he doesn't talk about it progressively. I mean, he doesn't even acknowledge actual problems from the point of view of the right, because they wouldn't get watched. Even with all the free advertisement that he gets and all that, they still wouldn't get watched. So they talk about bullshit. Anyway. Oh, we do have good news. So I'm going to do the good news and then I'll get into the Trump thing. The good news is, and maybe this will make me feel a bit better, because the idea that actual persuasion is so difficult is one of the things that's corroding my brain. The percentage of Americans who say, I am not going to get vaccinated is still significant, but it is dropping. It is at a record low. New Axios Ipsos poll published earlier today found 20% of Americans said they are either not very likely or not likely at all to receive a vaccine. That was 23% 2 weeks ago. It was 34% back in March. So look, the bad side of this is that to get to this point, we needed 100,000 people simultaneously in hospitals and all that, and like a lot of people dying, I guess. But people are seemingly paying attention. I have no idea to what extent all news combined, let alone our show individually, was able to influence this outcome, but that is what we're pushing towards, trying to get people to get the goddamn vaccine. And it looks like, belatedly, we're moving in that direction. So there's your good news of the day. I can read you some bad news. I've got a whole bunch of social media posts about ivermectin and all that. Did you know that you're supposed to rub it on your armpit? With horses, that takes longer because they have 4 of them. I'll take Phoenix says, hey, I'll take Phoenix, how's it going? I'm really sad you're going to miss Gen Con, but it's good you're not going to be in that large group of people. I'm on the fence about going to Roses City Comic Con. I have tickets for. Yeah, it's a difficult decision, and everybody has to make it individually. I am sorry that I'm not going to be able to use the Dice Vault for it. I will at some point, but yeah. Matthias says, grift by selling horse photo crops for ID, yet they want ID for voting. Okay, I'm going to start selling photos. I will Photoshop you into a photo of a horse for $50. The others are Ringworm, I don't need the horse anatomy lesson, but thank you. Okay, so, look, I understand if you do not want to think about Donald Trump. I get it. But here's the thing. On the issue of war, there has always been this maddening narrative that he is not a warmonger, that he would get us out of these things and all of that. I don't understand it. I never have. He gives us evidence every day that it's not true, but the narrative continues. We have to fight against it. And so, look, he set in motion to some extent some kind of withdrawal. Releasing all the prisoners and all that, whatever. He could have just gotten us out, I guess, if it was that important to us. But okay, he did start us on the path. Now, though, they're all saying, look, Biden screwed it up. Trump would have just gotten us out. Okay, but would he? Because I want you to listen to this. This is a message that he put out yesterday. It would have been on Twitter, but he's not on Twitter anymore. Never in history has a withdrawal from war been handled so badly or incompetently as the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's fine. It's criticism. You should criticize it. It has been mismanaged in a number of different ways. In addition to the obvious, all equipment should be demanded to be immediately returned to the United States, and that includes every penny of the $85 billion in cost. Okay, well that's not going to happen. They don't have billions of dollars that they can hand us, and they wouldn't do it anyway. Who are you asking for this money? The Taliban? You're asking them to ship over 80,000 trucks? I don't think they're going to do it. Did you have a plan to get all that equipment back? Because you're talking about it now. Did Biden throw away a detailed playbook you'd put together for getting all this equipment back? Why is nobody asking that question? There's a question for you, Tucker Carlson. Here's where it gets bad, though. If it is not handed back, we should either go in with unequivocal military force and get it, or at least bomb the hell out of it. Nobody ever thought such stupidity as if feeble-minded withdrawal was possible. So, why are people fucking playing that he's for a withdrawal, he doesn't want to guess? He says, send in unequivocal military force to get every penny of the equipment. Planes and thousands of trucks and tanks and hundreds of thousands of assault rifles. What do you think? It's a long weekend to do that? Now look, does he mean any of this? Who knows? But he's advocating for it to a base that will like it. They will run with that. Sending in what would require hundreds of thousands of soldiers at the very least to get the money back. Of course, we'd spend $100 billion doing it at the very least, but it sounds good if you love war and don't care about what happens to our soldiers or Afghans. So it's just fucking bullshit. He's not against war. He massively escalated the bombing campaigns against Syria. And now, like, he's saying he would go back in. Maybe he wouldn't, but that's a fun gamble to have when he's telling you he would. Anyway, whatever. There's no point. People want to believe that he's better in some way in this issue. I've been trying for years to convince them otherwise. He's been trying for years to convince them otherwise. Meowing says, John, you're the most genuine person giving us the news. Not your fault most people prefer to put their heads in the sand. The people here are wanting to make a difference, and your effort is inspirational. Thank you, Meowing. I do appreciate that. Dragon Slayer says, C.1.2 seems will be of interest soon. I know. I don't even want to. I know. I got to start talking about it. Maury says, people seriously taking Ivermectin as a COVID treatment hurts my brain. Get the vaccine. It really is as simple as that. Purple says, please keep getting fired up and telling it like it is. I'm very angry at everything today, and this is extremely therapeutic. I can't yell myself. I'm pregnant with twins, and rage just makes me vomit. I'm sorry to hear that. I will both rage and vomit for you. Andrew, thank you again. Andrew doesn't send in messages, but he sends the super chats. Thank you. Forbesilla says, chat is disabled again for TDR. I will get them to fix that. Sono Jam says, Brazilian Dragon, if the name isn't taken, I'll have it. It is yours. Here, getting the second dose this week. It's insane that there's still an ongoing discussion about it. Humans are not very smart. Yep. Wayne says, just put sex or ED cure in the title of your post. No, I don't want to do that. Jessica says, I heard in Breaking Points, the billions number is the total from the past 20 years we gave to the Afghans. Yeah, it's, look, you can't expect, I'm willing to understand that Trump is going to get some basic facts wrong. It's the consequences of what he would do that I got to focus on. But anyway, thank you, everybody. We're way over, but we got a show coming up. Wazzy's going to be here. Exactly. Send the Proud Boys, Andrew. That's what I say. Stay here or go to twitch.tv/TYT, and I will see you soon.